all feeling good? Are you all ready for the class? Okay, fine. Do you remember what we have learned in the last class? We have learned a story, isn't it? It's not a story, it's a poem, but it's filled with a funny story. Do you remember that? Okay, very good. Students, shall we revise what we have learned till? Okay. So, what is the title of the poem we are learning? The Invention of Shoes, which is written by Rabindranath Tagore. And here we have seen a conversation between a king and his minister, isn't it? What is the name of the king? Very good. Hobu. Hobu is the name of the king. And what is the name of his minister? Gobu. Gobu is the name of the minister. And what we have seen, first the king is calling the minister and he is saying that for the past few days I did not sleep because I am thinking about the dirt on our land, the dust on our land which covers my feet whenever I walk on the land as barefoot. So I need a solution for this problem. I want my feet to be clean and tidy always. I don't want my feet to get dirt. I don't want my feet to fill with dust. So I am giving you wages. I am giving you a lot of money as salary, as wage. So it's your duty to your duty to solve the problems, and you have to follow, you have to obey all the orders, all the demands of the king. And then he is saying, unless you find a solution for this problem, you will be punished to death. And this minister, he feels frightened, he feels afraid, and he don't know what is the solution for this problem. He cannot find out the solution at once. All the pundits there, all the ministers who are there in his council, in the king's council, they are turned into pale, which means they are all speechless. They cannot do anything. And this minister decides that okay, something is going to happen. Maybe I will die very soon. And he goes to his house and he is explaining all these things to his wife. And this minister and his wife, they both started to cry. Both are crying in their house, and for 2 or 3 days they did not cook food. They did not eat and they did not cook anything in their kitchen, and thus their heart become cold. And as he is crying, as this minister is crying, his beard is completely drenched with his tears. And the next day this minister again meets the king, and he is trying to flatter the king by saying that if you're barefoot or not touching the land, how our land will be sacred? Unless your bare feet touch the land, our land is unholy. If your bare feet touch our land, then our land will become sacred. He is trying to flatter the king. But the king is saying that, okay, I'll agree with your point, but that is not the important thing here. First, do the first one. What I have assigned you, do that duty first. Let's think about this. Let's discuss about this later. And again this king is scolding this minister, and he is saying, I have appointed so many ministers in my kingdom. So many scientists are there. For what purpose I have appointed you? You're all getting salary from, you're all getting wages, a lot of money from me, but you are not obeying the rules, obeying my demands. And this minister now decides, okay, I will send a notice to all the wise men to summon. And all the wise men with terrified mind, they all enters into the palace. They all studied the problem there, but they did not find a proper solution for this. And one among them, he meet the king and he is saying that that if you are covering the land, if you are doing something on the land, if you are taking all the dust, all the soil from the land, how will we cultivate crops? How will we get food? For that, this king did not give proper response, and he is saying that it's your responsibility. You have to tackle this problem. You must know how to compensate this scarcity of food, lack of something. That is your responsibility. It's not my problem. My problem is to get rid of this dust. That is the only problem for me now. So do this duty. You do this as first. And then one among them get an idea that let's buy millions of brooms so that we can clean the entire kingdom, and so our kingdom will be there will be no dust. And all the people, all the subjects of the king, they take a broom, they started to clean the entire kingdom, entire nation. Then what happened? The dust which are all settled on the land, they get up, they fly in the air, and the air is completely filled with dust. People who are walking on the road, they get coughed, they are sneezing. And also this dust enters into the palace and it enters into the chamber of the king. The king cannot tolerate this dust. The sun is disappeared there. Because of this dust, the air is completely filled with dust, isn't it? And so they cannot see the sun there in the sky. That much dust, because all are brooming, all are taking a broom. They are all cleaning the nation, cleaning the kingdom. Everywhere they could see only dust. Now the king gets very irritated as well as he feels very sad. Instead of solving the problem, I have increased the problem. This is what we have seen till. Let's see what happened then. Now, they got another plan. They are going to apply another plan. The king summoned for millions of watermen there. Millions of watermen. Millions of people who who fetch water from lakes, from rivers, from ponds, and to sprinkle it on the land so that the dust will be settled down, isn't it? So the king summoned, one of the wise men gave this idea, and this king summoned for millions of watermen. They all arrived there, and they in their water bags, in their barrels, in their pots, they all take water from lakes, from ponds, from rivers, from all the water bodies. They take it and they pour it on the land, they sprinkle it on the land. And thus, as millions of people are working, they are fetching water from the lakes, from rivers. What happened? All the water bodies get dry. The rivers, the lakes, everything is dried out. And so can the boats sail on it? No. One's transport between two villages will be on river, isn't it? Now there is no transport facilities there, and so economic level of the kingdom is decreasing. So people cannot go here and there, they cannot buy things, they cannot sell things, and so the economy of the kingdom is getting very low. People, without water can we live? No. So this rivers, all these lakes, ponds, everything is getting dry, and so people cannot drink water, and thus comes so many diseases for the people. People are all settled there in their home, as like now we are inside our house, isn't it? Because of this COVID-19. Similarly, people are there settled inside their home. Nobody come out. And all the species, all the creatures which are there in the water bodies they are dying day by day. Why? Without water, can those species live? No. What are water bodies, and all these are day by day they are dying one by one. And so the land is completely, it's like a sorrow land. It's a complete sad tone. The tone, the entire atmosphere of the kingdom is completely sad. Now the king is getting more angry, and he is calling these wise men, these ministers and the wise men as ass. He is scolding. He got that much anger towards them, and he is calling these people, these wise men and these ministers as ass. Nothing. You are good for nothing. And he is scolding again and again as they are not finding any solution yet. And then one among them got another idea. This is the third idea. The first idea is to clean the land, and the second is pouring water on the land, and the third is just cover the land, complete land with a sheet, with a cloth, with a mat. So one among the wise men is giving an idea that okay, the first two plans flopped, it's okay. So now let's think about the third plan. And what is that plan? Let's cover the land, the entire nation with a mat, with a cloth, with a sheet. And now this king is saying, it seems to be a good idea, but, and the person is saying, at least, if not, at least we can cover the king's chamber, at least the palace, at least the king's chamber, king's bedroom, the place where the king can walk. We can at least cover that place. It seems to be a good idea for the king, but again the king is saying, if I am sitting inside my chamber, if I am sitting inside my palace, then what will happen to my people? Who will govern the kingdom? Actually, till now, I feel that this king is not considering anything about his subjects, isn't it? Anything about his people. But now he is saying, if I am sitting inside my room, if I am sitting in my palace, if I am sitting in my chamber, who will take care of my people? How will I govern my kingdom? Now he is worrying about his kingdom. If the king fails to govern, if the king fails to rule his kingdom properly, what will happen? The kingdom will destroy. People, enemies from other nations, they will invade, they will conquer the land, isn't it? So, the king is saying, if I am sitting inside my chamber, who will govern my kingdom? Otherwise, if I am not governing the kingdom properly, my kingdom will destroy. My kingdom will be occupied by so many enemies. And so they decide that, okay, let's cover the entire kingdom with a leather sheet so that all the dust particles will be settled down behind. So now what they are planning? They are planning to cover the entire kingdom with a leather sheet. For that, they need a craftsman, a good craftsman, which means a good and perfect skillful leatherman. So they are in search of him, and also they are thinking that let's take a big sack. Have you all seen sacks? Okay, we can take with a sack, we can take all the dust particles from our land, we can cover it. In that we can put every dust particles, all the soil, all these dusts into that sack. So for these two purposes, they are in search of a leatherman. Now they could not find any leatherman in their kingdom. All the people, they did not do any other works other than searching a leatherman. Now one day, an old man with grey hair, not completely grey, it's like salt and pepper style. Okay, have you all understood what is salt and pepper style? So similarly, partially grey, partially black, and an old man is walking. And he is coming to meet the king. He is saying that, my lord, to the king, can we stand bold? Can we be courageous to speak? No, we should be humble, isn't it? So similarly he is saying, Lord, if you permit me, I will get you a solution. I have a solution for your problem. So if you permit, I will do that. Okay, you proceed. This is the reply of the king. And this old man, this leather man, he is saying, instead of covering the entire land, entire kingdom with a leather sheet, or you can collect, instead of collecting all the dust in a sack, it's better to cover your own feet. So that, what is the use of covering the entire land with a leather sack, with a leather cloth, with a leather mat? It's unnecessary. It's better you can cover only your feet. Now the king gets very angry. How dare he could order me to cover my feet? And he orders his soldiers to take him to prison or to give him a punishment. Let him be killed. This is the order given by the king to that leather man. This poor soul, he is giving an idea. It's a better idea than the other three. But the king did not understand that, and he is saying, how dare he could order me to cover my own feet. This old man is again, he is trying to say that there is no use to cover the complete land with a leather sheet, complete land with a cloth, with a sack. Instead, you can better cover your feet so that all the problems will be solved. Now the king gets very angry and he orders his soldiers to take him to prison or let him be kill him. That is the order given by the king. But this old man, he did not listen to his words. He just suddenly sat down near the feet of the king and he dressed his feet with two leather objects. That is not an object. I know now you can identify what is that. What is that? Yes, very good. It's leather shoes. Now this old man suddenly he sat nearby the king's feet and he dressed his feet with leather shoes. Thus the problem gets solved. This Gobu gets satisfied, and now this Gobu is saying, this is what the idea I thought. But now this old man have fun. He gets the same idea what I had in my mind. Now the king feels happy, the earth is saved, and Gopu is satisfied with this old man's technique, old man's plan, and thus the problem gets solved. Is this poem a good, funny poem? Do you like it? Do you all enjoy? Okay. Now the problem gets solved. The king feels happy, Gopu feels happy, the old man feels happy, and the earth saved. Have you all understood, students? So, in this poem, what we have learned? It is about a conversation between a king and his minister. The king don't want his feet to get dirt, and they tried. He is ordering his minister to find a solution for this problem, and this minister feels terrible, and he is feeling afraid, and he summoned to all the wise men to get a solution. The first plan is buying so many millions of brooms to clean the entire land. It was an utter failure. And the second plan is pouring water on the land. It is also a complete failure. And the third, they try to cover the land with a leather sheet. It's also an impossible idea. And then a leather man came and he dressed the king's feet with leather shoes, and thus leather shoes were invented for the people, for the use of people. Okay, so this is the story behind the invention of shoes. Similarly, there are so many stories for invention of everything. If you read, if you go and search for all these inventions, there is a story behind. Similarly, we have learned today the story behind the invention of shoes. In this poem, the poet used each stanza contains 14 lines with 6 plus 6 plus 2. Okay? That is AA, B, C, C, B. AA, B, C, C, B. Again, AA, B, C, C, B, D, D. This is the rhyme scheme followed by the poet in this poem. I hope you all understood everything right from the beginning till the end. See you all in the next class, students. Until, take care. Have a nice day.
By Rabindranath Tagore. Said good King Hobu to Minister Gobu,
I've pondered all night. Is it just that whenever my feet should land on the street, they come to be sullied by dust? Your wages you draw, but you don't care a straw to serve the demands of the king. It's a rank plot to foil me, my own soil to soil me. I simply won't stand such a thing. Unless you can find a solution, you're all doomed to swift dissolution.
the terrified minister at these words sinister broke into cold sweat with fright. The pundits grew pale, and the courtiers once hale lay sleeplessly tossing all night. In the minister's home there was weeping and gloom. The fires in the kitchen grew cold, till crazed with fears, his beard drenched in tears, he fell at the king's feet and told,
"But how can we live if denied the dust from your feet sanctified?"
That's a question indeed.
King Hobu agreed.
But maybe it should come after Mass. We need to discourse on this problem of yours. But meanwhile, get rid of the dust. You're getting good money. I don't think it funny. You can't tackle problems like these. There seems little point why I should appoint these scientists with long degrees. So deal with the first things first, or else be prepared for the worst.
Thus royally chided, poor Gobu decided to call the wise men of the land. Each subtle mechanic was summoned in panic. They studied and brooded and scanned. With spectacles perched on the nose, they researched as they took 19 barrels of snuff. Then warned, if the crust of the earth lost its dust, you couldn't grow food grains enough.
Why, what are you wise men worth?
Said the king.
Can't you tackle the dearth?
After some more discussion, they found a solution, which was to buy millions of brooms. The king couldn't breathe, for the dust from the street was driven right into his room. The people that passed were blinded with dust. They coughed and they sneezed in a daze. The dust floated down and veiled all the town. The sun disappeared in the haze. The king remarked, now really saw.
To clear the dust, they've added more.
So to douse down the earth and settle the dirt, some 2 million watermen came. They drained all the lakes to fill water bags, and boats couldn't sail on the stream. The water beasts died as their element dried, while land beasts struggled to swim. All business was stuck in the slime and the muck, and fever attacked every limb. The king said,
This army of asses has turned all the dust to morasses.
So they held more talk, and from every walk the wise men came to attend. With reeling eyes and dazed surmise, they found of the dust no end. One man had a thought to lay out cloth, or cover the land with mats, or day and night to shut up tight the chamber where the king sat. If they kept him enclosed all the time, his feet couldn't land in the grime. Said the king,
That's neat. It would guard my feet, but how could I govern my realm? If I'm shut in a room, the land meets its doom. I must have my hand on the helm.
So they spoke again.
"Call the leathermen to sew up the earth in a sack. 'Twill make a great story to His Majesty's glory, and hold all the dust right back. A simple device, if we can, just find out a smart leather man.
For such leatherware they looked everywhere, abandoning all other chores. But no craftsman found, nor hides to go round, even after they knocked on all doors. But just at this while there rose with a smile the leatherman's grizzled old chief.
My lord, please permit that I may submit a measure to bring you relief. The whole earth you needn't ensheath. Just cover your own 2 feet. Pooh, were it so easy, we wouldn't be busy
The king said.
pursuing our mission.
Let him be impaled,
The minister railed.
or bind him and throw him in prison.
But the old man sat down at the foot of the throne, and in leather the royal feet dressed.
Why?
Gobu now said,
This was in my head, but how could the blighter have guessed?
and that is how shoes were invented. The earth saved, and Gobu contented.